someone else has said it. Someone else has finally said what I've been saying for 2 months about Kokomi. This is obviously Xenox. I'll link the video below. You can please check out his video. It's quite good. It's actually mostly about Ganyu, but he sort of really hammers the Kokomi point home right at the end. So I'm only going to play a very small clip. So please listen to this. It's very good.
By comparison, when you think of a character like Kokomi, you kind of get everything. 40,000 HP, 8,000 healing a second, Hydro, the best supporting element in the game, and with 4-piece Ocean Hued damage, none of which relies on substats. Kokomi being so cheap to build might actually save you resources, allowing you to invest those into other characters that deal off-field DPS like Xiangling or any Electro character. Against the Magu Kenki with Kokomi, it doesn't matter that I don't have a shielder and that I get interrupted, because the damage isn't coming from her. Free-to-play off-field characters alongside her bubble with her immortality make Kokomi teams ironically better than Ganyu teams.
Alright, quite an interesting take there. So what he's saying is something that I've been saying for months. 2 months ago I posted this article, which is essentially the Kokomi analysis, how generalist characters win. It essentially talks about this damage and this very, every character must have a niche type of bias that the community has. So for instance, why this character must fulfill a certain niche that I can now fit into my pre-existing team, and if it doesn't, it's therefore bad, and if it doesn't do damage, it's therefore bad. So I actually talked about it a lot, but the biggest point that I made all these months ago was this: no character in the game that relies on multiplicative, i.e. crit damage and crit rate scaling for their damage, can do all of the following 4 things without compromising on some aspect. That is to heal, that is to buff via off-field applications that aid stat changes or induce artifact effects for themselves or teammates, i.e. like the off-field Hydro, tank, and deal damage. What you just heard is someone quite literally saying all of these 4 things at once that Kokomi provides. Absolutely amazing. And the big thing that I've also said here is because people have essentially like crit rate and crit damage, they are fundamentally gated from doing too much. So if you want to build like a Zhongli that does a lot of attack, well, you got to sacrifice on the shielding and the tanking. That's just how it is. Kokomi, in contrast, while having linearly scaling consistent damage, enables Kokomi to overcome this limitation, i.e. by providing on all those aspects that round out a team. Instead of individually building units, one unit can fulfill many functions. Isn't that what he said right here at the end about Kokomi being so extremely easy, and I want to put it in air quotes, cheap? In other words, it's easy to build her. In contrast to a character like Ganyu, in which you need a shield to prevent like interruption resistance, but that means you need to build up another teammate, and that teammate needs to be well invested, etc., etc. So very interesting. Finally, someone else has said it, and you might say, well, I'm just cherry picking right now. Kokomi is not really that good, but there's another video by someone called Gacha Gamer, and he's sort of like saying, what are the top 5 popular teams right now? And ironically, Kokomi Freeze, Kokomi Taser, and he didn't mention it, but of course the Sukokumon team. Kokomi is now finally being recognized for what she does. And I think the big thing here is the big driver is the Ocean Hue clam set as well. Did play a bit of a role in just sort of evening out Kokomi's damage. Personally, from my perspective, I think what happened was MiHoYo set Kokomi's damage to be like at a sub DPS level. Obviously these guys are smart enough, they've got all the stats on all the characters, so they know exactly where they should position her damage for what they sort of think with the character. So in other words, they would have already worked out the correct HP scaling. They might have gone through the maths, they might have gone through a couple of playtests, but I never doubted the maths, and in particular I never doubted the maths behind Everlasting Moonclaw, which is why I love it more than Prototype Amber. Because look here, after 12 seconds, your normal attacks hit. When your normal attacks hit opponents, you will restore 0.6 energy, and it doesn't seem like a lot. But the moment you pair this with attack speed, then I'm sorry, not even Prototype Amber can give you more elemental burst energy. I know you guys have like seen my videos a lot, and it doesn't matter if you've got an R1 or an R5 sort of everlasting moon glow. You guys know my Kokomi almost never runs out of energy, despite being built with 122 energy recharge. I think her previous build had like 113, and still we don't run out of energy. Absolutely amazing. But here's the big point, and this is not a brag post, you know, woohoo, we got it right all along, everyone else was wrong. It's not about that. The big point that I want to make is we must always look at characters, especially new characters, in light of the fact that they are not as well built as our existing characters. So we can only give them a fair chance once all their talents are leveled up, once we've leveled up the character, leveled up the weapon, and got them decent artifacts. Because now we're on an equal footing with the rest of our existing cast, and now we can sort of compare, we can have a bit of a better sense of how this character actually performs. The other thing is a lot of people look at characters and they're like, okay, this character's gimmick is an E skill, she can do a bit of this and she can press Q. This character's gimmick is a jellyfish, and if you think of characters in terms of just gimmicks, you sort of miss the point. A lot of people have said like, well, you know, Kokomi's jellyfish doesn't move, therefore bad. And it's like, I've very rarely found out that the jellyfish not moving being an actual problem, because most of the fact is when you've got the jellyfish, a lot of enemies can tend to come into you, and you can obviously play at the edges of the jellyfish, which means your range, especially if you're using Kokomi, extends from attacking enemies all the way over there. And if your jellyfish is like right here in the middle, let's just pop another jellyfish quickly. Your range is effectively from here all the way to about right here. So you can attack enemies that are up way over here and enemies that are way over here, all the all the way from way over here in the middle. It kind of makes the range a moot point. You might say, well, what about your other characters? Well, if you got Raiden Shogun, you have the range on it. Obviously, Kuchasara range doesn't matter. Ayaka, her area is also quite big. So if you stand at the edge of the jellyfish, and you now sort of want to use your Ayaka, her charge attack goes like way over there. And here's her sort of freezing ability. Her freezing ability extends to what quite like over here, which effectively means, if you think about it, you've got a larger perimeter to play around than what people actually think you've got. And the other thing is, enemies love clumping or coming at you. So you don't always need to move towards the enemies and waste time. You can sometimes, like in my Spiral Abyss runs, you'll see me, I'm literally going here, I'm setting up, and then, whoops, the enemy's right here. Boom, I can freeze him, and now my Ayaka's got 3500 attack, and I can just absolutely hammer them. And that is sort of it. So again, on the surface of it, jelly bad because jelly doesn't move is not, it's not what it seems. And with that, I want to sort of end off by saying, when Shenhe comes out, I don't think she's a generalist like Kokomi, but she's going to be a ton of fun, and I can't wait for her. And hopefully you guys will also see a lot of the obvious flaws that everyone's going to point out, and then once we get past that, you'll see the real value of the character, and it's going to be absolutely awesome. So please stay tuned for that. And thanks for watching the video, and please go ahead to these two videos that you've just seen, give them a like, a thumbs up. I think it'll always be appreciated. Cheers.